this is embarrassing. I am all by myself at the moment. I'm expecting some folks to pop in, but at the moment, it's just me. Uh, John Medic is supposed to be hosting tonight. Don't know where he's at. So how it is, everybody out there? I see we have one whole viewer. Hi, Pops. I'm lonely, Pops. Pop in with us, Pops. All right, hang on. Somebody just messaged me. Okay. Sorry about that. Anyway, how's everybody tonight? I know I'm not. I'm trying to get somebody in here. Copy. Paste. There we go. So, what's the big news in comics this week? Trying again. Okay, Javier's trying to get in. Well, big news was Mike Richardson's out at Dark Horse. That was a surprise. I was not expecting that, but then, this is a brutal industry and shit happens. It always seems like in the larger companies, it's not so much about how much you love comics as how much. There's Javier. Yay! I was just talking to myself. Oh, God, thank God, you're my hero. I was just talking to myself about the big Mike Richardson thing.
Oh, yes, from Dark Horse?
Yes. I mean, it's like I was just starting to say in the larger companies, and I guess we can count Dark Horse as one of the larger companies because it's got a franchise that's supplying the money and everything like that. I said it's not so much anymore about how much you love comics, but how much money you can make for the big guys. And I think that's sad. What are your thoughts on that?
Tell me more about making money for the big guys. Are you talking about what Richardson has done or something else?
Well, Mike's been there forever. I mean, 40 years. He started Dark Horse as a small company and had fantastic stuff, but he no longer owns Dark Horse.
Oh, I see. Okay.
See, he was one of the original owners of Dark Horse, and now another company is coming in, and they want to widen their scope. I don't think they're happy with the revenue that they're making, so Mike's out.
Oh, that's how that happened. Okay. Wow.
Well,
regrettably, corporate America is very big about let me take something that works and mess it up just to make more money. Not artistry, not for the beauty of it, not for creating great things, but simply for a spreadsheet that somebody's going to look at and say, oh, that's missing a couple more zeros. That's not making enough. Sell it. Get rid of it.
I absolutely agree with that. And I think a lot of the love of comics has gone by the wayside because of that. People say, well, comics aren't fun anymore. Well, that's because we're all following a formula that is trying to please bean counters instead of us.
If I were to take the history of comic book publishing, a lot of it was well before I was born. And I'm sure at one point it was a good business model. Who were comics created for in the first place? Mass everybody, pretty much children up to a certain age. And after that, well, you had newspapers and magazines and a real life to go to. I believe at that time it must have been profitable for them to be, making 2 million copies of comic books in the 40s and 30s.
Isn't it insane to think about?
Even at 10 cents, 5 cents, that's a huge economy, especially we weren't as, what's the word I'm looking for? Our population wasn't that big. So for that many copies to sell, that meant a large percentage of people were buying these. Um, as time went on, I'm sure that number, of course, reduced and grew smaller and smaller until we're at our inroads now. Um, However, we're about generation 5 who got joy from reading these periodicals, but want to also derive joy out of making them. But let's be honest, Stan Lee wasn't really enjoying making comics until he made the Fantastic Four. It was only when he had nothing left to lose that he let it all out. And that was the brilliance of him making it something.
I am not that familiar with that story, so please elucidate.
Okay, so apparently Timely was about ready to just get out of making comics entirely. Circulation was down, sales were down, nothing was hitting, romance was going on its wayside, war comics were completely out, and they were about to shut this thing down in about 2 months. This is a Stan Lee interview that he shared, and he said, well, I spoke with my wife, he says, and she said, if you're going to lose your job, you might as well finally write the stories you want to write.
Good advice.
And he said, you know what? Then I might as well go out. I mean, who's going to see it? I got nothing to lose. And he went and he created the Fantastic Four, completely different from the stuff that DC was publishing. I don't know what they were called at the time, and other periodicals were doing at the time. And that was a hit when they got the numbers back. I don't know how they got numbers faster than you and I do in 2026, but they got numbers back. And that book sold so much, they're like, no, we need another one. We need another one. And that was truly the genesis of, the Marvel era. And him and Jack Kirby was another one. He was going to be unemployed again. He had been in between companies and apparently had gotten blacklisted. And he was just like, man, I mean, I've drawn these silly things. I've drawn all these other things. I've drawn the Rawhide and Western and all this other stuff. Let me draw something me. And that combination of two men at their rope with almost nothing to lose but everything to gain birthed Marvel Comics as we know.
I did not know that. Why was Jack blacklisted?
I don't know. That I'm inferring that from the way he spoke about how he went to one publisher, they wouldn't take him, another one, they wouldn't take him, but because he was outspoken about certain things, and that's why he was, how people get labeled difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Apparently, standing up for what you believe in is one of those reasons for people to do that, and that happened to him.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I actually did not know that. I mean, I came into the industry completely backwards, knowing, I had like half a dozen comics that I followed and nothing else. I knew nothing about who ran the business, who the artists were, nothing like that. Because I had been a painter, a fine artist,
wow.
and was hired.
That is a backwards way to fall into comics. Yeah,
it is. It's ass backwards or back asswards, whatever. And I was hired by Warp Graphics to do a large painting for their backdrop for their convention booth.
Mm-hmm.
And during the course of doing this, I'm like asking them questions and stuff like that. And I was a huge ElfQuest fan. That was one of the half dozen comics I actually followed.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first big one that I actually followed. And I just made up my mind. I'm going, you know what? It just sounds much more lucrative than trying to get somebody to buy a painting. So, I mean, it took me a couple of years, but Chris Ulm and Tom Mason from Malibu Comics hired me eventually to do inking because I was good with a brush,
Mm-hmm.
And the rest is history. But the point is I knew no one. I didn't know this guy was a star. This guy was a publisher. This guy was a janitor. This guy was just a fan. I didn't know any of that. So going to conventions, I just treated everybody the same, and it must have worked because half the time I didn't know who I was talking to. I could have been talking to security or something like that, and it turns out to be like one editor of Marvel. But apparently it was refreshing because I wasn't talking comics most of the time. And I made a ton of friends. The first time I ever met Bernie Wrightson, he became a lifelong friend until the end of his life. Really close friend. Didn't know him from Adam. I had the Frankenstein book, and that was it. I hadn't seen any of his comics or anything like that. And we met at a Star Reach party. They were trolling for new clients, so they were wining and dining us. And out on a balcony overlooking, I got away from the party. It was too noisy, so I took a bottle of wine out there. There was this other guy out there. I'm like, "Hi, how are you?" "Well, I'm fine." So we started drinking wine. I was like, "Where are you from?" He goes, "Oh, Woodstock, New York." I said, "No, the Woodstock?" He said,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah." And turns out he had 2 kids, the same age as my kids, and so we ended up talking for like 2 hours about school board meetings, property taxes, everything but comics.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about raising our kids. They were the exact same age, except I had a boy and a girl, or a girl and a boy, and he had 2 boys. And after that 2 hours, I says, "Well, I guess I should introduce myself. My name's Barb Kilberg." He goes, My name's Bernie Wrightson." I'm like, I actually do know your name, but I'm sorry to say that the only thing I've ever seen of yours is Frankenstein. He goes, "Well, if I have to be known for something, that's what I want to be known for." And we were lifelong friends after that. I mean, we would get together every convention we were together. We would hang out with all his friends and stuff like that. It was, and that's really a really amazing way to come into comics, is not knowing anybody, and you just treat everybody the same.
Well, that's a commendable way to approach it. Absolutely. And this is, I can only talk about what I've read, and what I've read, half of it is lies, the other half is exaggerated, right?
Mhm.
But it seems to be a little bit of sport for people to just badmouth others in the industry. Like, place isn't, I'm sorry, it's both big and small, because maybe there's 200 people, 300 people that work together and collaborate and meet each
Yeah.
other, and and kind of associate this individual with person 2, person 3, and across the world, actually. um but it's small, and I don't see any need to really behave in such a way where, oh, I get to know this person, great, that's awesome for me. We're all creatives. The one, I think one of the main constants we have across the board is we don't feel comfortable in groups. It's hard.
Oh
We
yeah, I think more comic professionals are introverts than extroverts. I know I am. I have to force
Mhm.
myself to go to a convention and mingle. It doesn't come naturally. And I think a lot of artists are introverts. They like to create, but they don't necessarily like to go out there and market themselves.
Mhm.
Very difficult thing to do.
Yeah,
And
marketing yourself is key, and that's something that you never get to be taught or tutored in any aspect of your life, unless that's what you do. And that's is besides your work ethic, is the next most important skill to move about in these waters, is being
oh
able to
yeah,
market yourself, especially to, to publishers, to editors, to conventions, and to people with who pass out the gigs, who have the money, who control the bags, so to speak.
and I've teased people that's like pimping yourself. And it is. I mean, you have to go out. It doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. You have to go out and present
Hmm.
yourself as the best option for them to hire you. Let me see here. I find it
Yeah.
very hard to talk myself up. Hey, everybody, look at me and my greatness. Exactly, Jose. Why don't you hop in, Jose? I put the link on the group chat. It is very hard to market yourself. Uh, and it feels unnaturally to go, at least for me, it is to go um, up to somebody, say, "Hi, my name is Barb Kilberg, and I think I'm the best choice for the job." It doesn't come naturally to most people, and you have to teach yourself how to do that. It's a learned skill, and you have to teach yourself how to mingle and uh, press the flesh and network. Networking is huge. And again, you have to teach yourself to network and know when you have an opportunity.
That's almost like telling somebody you need to learn how to date by just, figuring it out.
Yeah.
No, I need somebody to kind of walk me through, because that whole pressing the flesh thing, it sounds like a made up term, to be honest with you, because it's so alien to me. I feel so comfortable with a blank page in front of me.
Yeah.
And most everybody else sees a blank page is like, I don't know what to do. And I guess that wiring of my brain is what keeps me from pounding the flesh, so to speak. No, because I can say hi to people, and I got a spiel. I know how to say 5 different questions to get a conversation going, and I shut up from time to time, which helps. But
I
geez.
actually read Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And you'll be surprised. That is an old Andrew Carnegie book, but it has surprisingly good advice. And one of the best pieces of advice, which I failed miserably at, is that be a good listener, because people like to talk about themselves. Start a conversation and then listen, and they will open up.
Funny enough, I tried that once, and the lady told me, "Are you interviewing me?" I said, "Okay, I'll stop. Let me go back to drinking. I'm good."
A hard thing to learn is knowing how to network, where to network, and when to network. Anytime you're at a show, it doesn't matter if you're there as a fan or a professional. Touch base with people in the other booths and the other vendors. Talk to people who are buying or selling, and find out what's hot, what's not, what they're hearing about the industry. Introduce yourself to people at the show, and if they're a publisher, always have an 8x10 envelope with some 11x17 photocopies folded over in it, and your business card and your name and number on the front of it to drop off with them. They may throw it in the trash. You don't know. But, here's Jose. Yay, Jose.
Hello.
Thank you. We're talking about networking.
Welcome aboard.
Oh, I don't know how to do that.
I was saying that if you're at a show and you know that there's going to be publishers there, or even editors, always carry 8.5 by 11 manila envelopes with your 11x17 photocopies. Yeah, with your 11x17 photocopies, your business card inside. Probably you need to staple your business card
to the packet.
To the packet, otherwise it gets lost.
Yep.
And with your name and telephone number on the outside of the envelope, hand them out. Like I said to Javier,
I put my email address on every page that I submitted.
They might turn right around and toss it in the trash, but they might not. And I have gotten jobs that way.
Nice.
That explains so much. I've never done that.
I know.
The next time you see an editor, point him out to me or her. I don't know anybody.
So I just found out today that DC Comics is going to be taking portfolio submissions at MegaCon.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
It's been a while since they've done that.
That's what I said.
Used to be a lot easier. Used to be there was editors at almost every major convention, especially San Diego Comic-Con, and you could actually meet them in person, hand them your portfolio. They would look at it right there. In some cases, I've had editors that take me out into the hallway where it's a little quieter. We'll sit on the floor and go through it.
I had an editor go through my stuff because I was at first Sandstorm at New York City Comic Con. I figured I was just gonna drop it off and roll out, right? And oh no, take it over there. The guys are gonna the editor's gonna review your portfolio. It's like, oh, you mean I have to talk to them at the same time? I was not expecting that.
Now it seems like the majority of the large conventions, what they will do is they will give a certain time period where you can drop off your portfolio with your phone number, and then the next day they will call you back if they were interested.
Or they will post a list. You have to go check it by a certain time to see if your name is on the list.
Yeah.
That's what Marvel did at New York City Comic Con this past year.
Yeah. That's one way to do it. Another way to network is get your work out there. Obviously, social media. Put your stuff out there. That's how I found my penciler for Divinity, my first penciler, and now we're doing trading cards for Starlight Entertainment. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, nice. It is. And here's another thing. Circling back to what we were talking about before, is that be nice to people. Yeah. Be professional. Don't walk on it. The person you're stomping on or bad mouthing today is going to be your boss tomorrow, and I've seen that happen more than once. Way back when Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti just broke in, they had this little comic book, and a lot of people didn't like Joe. And then what happened? Yeah, he's the editor in chief of Marvel. Always be nice, and always be professional. Always meet your deadlines, and it pays off. 30 years later, 2 years ago, I got a call from my old editor, Jeff Gomez from Valiant. Hadn't talked to him in 30 years, but he remembered me. He remembered me for a good inker, a fast inker, and never missing a deadline. He calls me up out of the blue and offers me a bunch of Ultraman trading cards, and did 2 rounds of those, and now I'm doing a round of soccer cards for them.
Nice.
But the reason is because he remembered me as a good person and a good artist. Always made their deadlines. Those impressions that you leave follow you around for a long time. Javier, you were asking earlier on the group chat about how to do a booth.
Yes.
What do you mean? Like Artist Alley or like exhibitor?
No, when you get a 6-foot table, an 8-foot table, what's the generic setup that you work with that is productive for you? Because I feel like I'm working in a vacuum because I got nothing to really compare it to. So I don't know if a backdrop is really worth the money or the price. I don't know if any of these, am I over preparing or not preparing in the right places? There's really no way for me to know unless I ask, hey, am I doing something wrong? And I really don't like giving everybody a crap shot at me. So I might as well ask, what do you do that you feel works for you? And then I'll compare it to what I'm doing. And I can then decide, hey, let me adjust X, Y, Z, this factor here, this factor there for a more successful, showing, because I want to be successful and I don't know what I'm not doing.
So I have a very streamlined, I don't want to say system because I'm still guessing along the way, but I have just a simple, banner, you know what I mean, that pulls up behind me. And I have one suitcase, and I have a rack system. For one side of my table, I have a metal rack for like comic books, for Silverline books that I've worked on. And I display my art in front of me. And I've noticed, like I said in the chat, I am so terrible at like promoting myself, talking about myself. Like I'm just not good at it. But what I have learned is I'm really good and passionate about talking about my process. So what I do is I have an 11x17 portfolio, and I have it open with the pages that I've worked on for Silverline, stuff I've done for school, anywhere from pencil stuff to colors, or sorry, to inks, to colors. Like every stage that I've worked on, I have them in there so that when people are flipping, it's not just like on one side of my table. I've, like I said, the wire rack system. I display the sketch covers that I've worked on that I sell, right? The other side of the table, I do the comic books that I worked on for Silverline, so I can talk about them because I'm right-handed. So everything, you know what I mean? It's easier for me to Vanna White with my right hand. And everything in right, and everything in the middle is so that I can engage when somebody comes up to my table. Like, oh man, this is really cool. I like how you did that. Like, oh, let me tell you about that. Like, that was an interesting experience for me. That was an interesting experiment. You know what I mean? And that's how I started engaging with people at my table, because I started talking about my process. Before that, it was like, hi, please buy my stuff. Okay, bye. You know what I mean?
You cannot believe how often the fans or wannabe artists, professionals will come up and pick your brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or want a critique of their work.
See, and I know I did that, and there are some creators, like, don't get me wrong, there are some, like, up there professional creators that I would ask them questions, and they're like, oh, like I don't have time to explain that to you. It's like, okay, like, I understand that. And then there are creators that literally took 45 minutes out of her busy time to explain perspective to me.
Wow.
Yeah. Afua Richardson at New York City Comic Con. I was in my first year of art school, and we went there as a field trip. And went there. I already known her before, you know what I mean? And, I tell everyone she's my mentor. And I was telling her I was having trouble with perspective. For some reason, like, perspective was not locking in for me. And she's like, oh, yeah, give me a minute. And so she grabbed a piece of paper and just came over to the side of her table and just started going over with me. And I kept apologizing every few minutes. I'm like, Foo, like, you have people at your table. She's like, yeah, it's okay. And just started, like, I love her so much for that, because that's a sacrifice. That's, you know what I mean? That's a lot of time.
And see, that's something you're going to remember.
Absolutely.
That's your life.
I remember it. My kids remember it because I've talked about it. My kids know her by first name. Like, they'll reach out to her and say, hi, Foo, how you doing? You know what I mean? So, and like I said, I've had people that, like, would sit there and explain, like, Brian Polito. I went to a panel he did talking about LLC for your small press stuff. And I asked him if he would explain something to me. He's like, just come to my table and I'll talk to you then. He spent 30 minutes talking to me at his table about it. And I was just sitting there, like, taking all the notes as fast as I could. You know what I mean? And I was like, dude, I don't want to occupy all of your time, but I appreciate you so much. So yeah. I want to be the creator that is willing to explain and help someone. You know what I mean? Because we all should, I feel,
I have a lot of people that will spend quite a bit of time talking with me. And as long as my booth isn't, like, super crowded, I don't mind at all. But for those folks out there, fans, 30 minutes is about the max. If you want to hang around the table for the entire show, that's a no-no, because that's pushing it. Right. I've had people do that. They'll step away for maybe 5 minutes, and then they'll drift back and just hang out. And that's a little uncool. But I'm happy to spend 30 minutes with somebody talking, over their work or processes or something like that. Tips. How do you break into the industry? Well, practice. Right. Tips.
Hope and a prayer.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I do. That's what I tell people.
Right. Yeah. Break in. You mean smash down, because really it's not about anybody letting you in. It's making your way through all the muck to get to where you want to be.
Well, it's the levels that I don't think people understand, right? Like, I feel that I've broken into the industry. I'm working for a comic company that I love, and I'm working on books that I love.
Have you been printed?
Yes. Right. I am a comic book professional. I have broken into the industry.
If you ever go to San Diego Comic-Con as a pro, the first thing they're going to ask you is, have you been printed?
Right.
Have you been printed in the last year?
That's one of the ones that Miami SuperCon and New York City Comic-Con asked as well.
That's their definition of a pro.
Yeah, but fans are like, oh, you're not a pro unless you work for, like, Marvel, DC, Image. I was like, dude, there are amazing levels of small press publishers that you are overlooking, and that is a sad day. So
back to your question, Javier. Depends on the show. If you have very, very limited space, you're going to want a small pull-up.
Yeah.
It's about 3 feet wide, which I do have. I have one. I have a pull-up. I don't use it very often because usually I have a table that's at least 6 feet long. Sometimes 8, sometimes 10, sometimes 2 sides, sometimes 3 sides. So I take everything in the kitchen sink with me, and then once I get there, I figure out how much space I have and how much I have to show.
right.
My majors are I have a 6-foot banner behind me that I can stretch way up, and I hang. The banner introduces me, who I am, and everything like that. But from the banner hangs my prints. My prints, my books, and my original art are a must every show.
Yep.
So I have a portfolio of original art, I have a portfolio of prints, and I have my rack of books. Those 3 are non-negotiable. Depending on if I have side tables, I also make buttons for fun. Those my husband sells those. That's his. It keeps him out of my hair. If he's not taking money from my sales and making change and bagging my books and prints and stuff like that, then he's over there messing with the buttons. I also have old books for sale I still have a few left over from the Marvel and DC days. I sell those if I have a side table. I have a couple of double page spreads that don't fit in a portfolio. I put them on little rack thingies and display those on the sides. Now I have Ultraman trading cards that are signed, and I can sell those on a side table.
That's
So
cool.
if I have more space than I have stuff that I need for, I have 11 by 17 posters of Divinity in hard ciders, and I will display those around to advertise my book. But my 3 majors gotta have the portfolio book of prints, portfolio of original art, and my rack of books. Those are the 3 mains.
Yeah, I have 11 by 17 portfolio for like just pages to talk about my process. And I have a 9 by 12 portfolio of original art that I usually sell. Rack of blank sketch covers galore that I've done.
I can't sketch in public.
You can't sketch in public. So these are some that I've done like on my own. You know what I mean? Like here at home. Let's see if I got one over here. But I kind of started doing them on Whatnot now. So
what is Whatnot?
Whatnot is okay. It's a place where people can go on and sell their stuff. I had several friends that are on there, and they sell comic books. To me, they sell anything. People are selling like beaded stuff. People are selling like crocheted stuff. People are selling everything, right?
It's not like Etsy,
kind of, but you can do live shows. And I don't know if you can do live shows with Etsy, but I got into it because I really wanted to get into the habit of being able to draw while I'm talking. You know what I mean? Which I find difficult to do at shows. I'll would you mind doing this commission? Yeah, sure. Oh, are you still standing there? You know what I mean? So it's gotten me into the habit of being able to like go scroll through the chat and like talk to people while I'm working and getting. It's actually helped. Like when I did Emerald City Comic Con, I was able to just sit there and work on a Godzilla piece while talking to someone. And as I explained on our Tuesday stream, I am not a multitasker. My hamster does one thing, and if I ask it to do 2, it will jump off the wheel. But yeah, there's another blank sketch cover I did.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. Like just fun stuff, you know what I mean? Stuff that I enjoy drawing. Stuff if I have an idea. I mean, I started collecting blanks before I started art school because I knew as soon as I got out of art school, I needed something to have on my table. If I wasn't working for anybody. So that's really where it stemmed from.
What do you have now?
Oh,
Well, I don't have a banner behind me. That's one thing I do need to invest in. But I have 36 11 by 17s original art. I have about 10 prints, 12 prints actually, the last time I checked. And I have 2 books of 9 by 12 original art. So
yeah, but that's all original art that you've done. Like I've seen them.
yeah. That's what I have. I have a little arrangement where I can put like 6 or 8 comic books about foot and a half. So yeah, I mean, I have it. It's just my level of insecurity is kind of high because I feel like every show I research what's the hottest character, what do people want to watch, and what are the favorites, what's coming up soon, what's coming out in 2 months. I use previews to draw today what's going to come out in 2 months, so that way when I get there in May, the comic is out too. And I feel like I prepare so much, and then I go to shows and it's crickets. It's like what? And I keep wondering, okay, I'm.
It's always hit and miss. You're never gonna hit that G spot.
Yeah, but listen, I'll be happy with a kiss. You know what I mean? I don't need to hit the G spot.
I try to predict what people want to, and they always come up and ask for some obscure character that I.
Yep.
No, I don't have a print of that.
Dude, I had someone this weekend ask me to draw a character from a YouTube musical show that is like very like adjacent to Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. And I'm like, I'm gonna need references. And so she gave me the references and whatnot. I looked up, I was like, I'm gonna probably watch like an episode or two, like skim through it, just so I can get a feel for the character. Are you cool with that? It's like, yeah, I've got to go do this and that and whatnot. So like I can come pick it up at the end of the show today. I'm like, great. So that's what I did. I just started skimming through the show until I got a feel for the character's personality, and then did the piece. But yeah, I never heard of that character before.
Yeah.
It's not anything that like. I mean, to be honest, my kids probably should have already known what that is, because that's a thing that they would have been interested in, right? But dude, doing shows, like I never go in there with an expectation of like, oh, this is what's hot now, this is what's gonna be hot. Like I feel the piece. If I do that, I'm not gonna put nearly as much love into the piece that I work on. Does that make sense? Unless I pick up a cover. Yeah, unless I pick up a guy like, oh, dude, I have an idea for this, and I do it on my own, something I want to draw, it always comes out looking so much better, right? And maybe it's just me, maybe it's just psychological. Like I said, I'm nobody. Brent said he had like 7 followers. I had the other 5. So, you know what I mean? Not saying my way works, but my way keeps me invested more in what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then people will come around. Like I did a whole set of Earthworm Jim characters, like on sketch cards, right? Like, yeah, it's an old video game. It's an old video game from like the 90s.
Oh, no wonder.
But it was such a fun game, right? And for some reason, it popped in my head. And I was like, oh, dude, I think I'm going to draw Earthworm Jim. And I think I'm going to draw Princess, what's her name? That's literally her name, Princess what's her name. Like, I'm going to draw Psychro. I'm going to draw Evil the Cat. You know what I mean? That's all I did, 4 cards. And I had so many people come up like, oh man, I remember that game. I remember that. Just, stuff that you might find interesting. You're going to really enjoy drawing and putting on your table instead of trying to feel the forecast. You know what I mean?
Is a big motivator.
Yeah.
And every show is different. One show I might sell my original art like crazy, and maybe a few prints and a few books and no buttons. And then the next show, for some reason, everybody's
it's only buttons, right?
Only buttons. I didn't sell a single book. I sold like 1 print, and then the next show I'll sell a gazillion prints and nothing else. Every show hits different. There's no 2 shows alike. The crowd is different. The mood is different. The economy is different.
Right. You're gonna be at ShadowCon, right, Javier?
Yes, I am.
Bro, I got your back, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm trying to just kind of figure out how to hedge my bets, because I don't want to come home empty-handed. I don't want to lose a day of productivity, a time with family, to come home and be like, I made $5. Don't get me wrong. I measure my treasure in friendships, and I'm very blessed. I'm rich that way. Um, but I tell this when people buy from me, I'm like, hey, you just bought me a pizza for my family. That's great. Oh, you just bought groceries for my family. Thank you. I mean, that's not my push to sell. That's my thank you, because I want them to
Right.
understand this really makes a difference to me. I don't do this for, I got nothing else to do. No, I'm passionate about it. And Jose, you hit this right. I have noticed that the things I want to draw end up being more epic than the things I
Yep.
decide to draw.
And fans, whether they know you or not, they know that, right? Like they'll come through, and I've seen people pick up some stuff I've done. It's like, oh, that was cool, but like the freaking King Kong I did that I was passionate about because I love freaking King Kong and anything monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, they noticed that right out the gate. Like I sold like almost 3 freaking Godzilla pieces I did this weekend. And just because, like, man, I really want to draw Godzilla. Like somebody asked me to do a Godzilla sketch card
on the page. Your passion is on the page.
It absolutely does. Like people see that. People will feel that. They'll resonate with that. You know what I mean? And then my wife said it best, like, it's great to make money at a show, but I'm not going there to make money. Like I'm going there to show off the work that I've done, and show off my name. Like say, listen, my name's Jose Fuentes. This is what I've done. Like, please check out my stuff. People remember that. I've had people at shows that are like, oh, dude, like I've seen you. I was like, I didn't mean to. Sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah, and that's what the whole friendship part of my relationship with convention comes in, because, of course, I'd rather make a friend than a customer, but my friends support me, and they'll do that more than once. Clients come, purchase, gone, great, but a friend will see me the next time, and they're like, hey, he's worth the money now, or hey, he's worth the time now. Let's go invest in that. That's what I want to show, and I've been meaning to show throughout my entire minor league career in this industry, is to show there's value, there's longevity, and I'm doing that. I always believe that my work should be my spokesperson, but I've been approaching it completely wrong. I need to be my own spokesperson.
yes,
that is correct.
And that didn't catch on to until much later in the game.
For me, doing shows, I don't do shows anymore to make a living. I don't need to. I'm retired. I have a retirement account. But the deal that I made with my husband is that I couldn't spend any of our money on comics. So if I want to make comics, I hire a penciler. I have to make the money to pay my penciler. Every dime I make at the shows that I do goes back into comics. I don't make any profit because I reinvest it into pencilers, into more product, into Kickstarters. I don't
Transformers.
Yeah.
I can't buy my wife won't let me use our paycheck to buy Transformers. I got to buy Transformers with comic book money. Just so you guys know, please buy my books. I need more Transformers.
So if you want to help talent, the talent that I have to hire, I hire a penciler. I do the inking, the writing, the coloring, but I don't do the pencils. Then you need to buy from me to support another artist. So I do it for the love of the genre. I don't do it for. I used to when I back in the day. That was our bread and butter. And that's why I worked 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, 2 books a month. Because that's what was keeping. That's what was keeping a roof overhead. But I don't need to do that anymore. So I do it simply because I love it, and that's a very, very good reason to be doing it. That's also another reason I will never charge for my signature.
No.
For my autograph, because the people who buy from me, I'm thankful for them. They put a roof over my head. They put food on the table for my children. You know, I'm happy. I'm happy to give them my
Have,
autograph.
have you ever had anybody bring like a stack of books to your table to sign?
Complete long box.
What?
And it wasn't to my table. I was leaving the show, and this guy comes running up to me in the parking lot, lugging a long box. He goes, "Oh, you're leaving. I haven't gotten around to see you yet. I have a whole long box of your books." And there were no duplicates, because I've done a lot of books.
Right, right.
So he wasn't going to turn around and sell them. They were all, one-offs.
His personal collection.
His personal collection. And I said, well, bring them out. And on the hood of my car, I signed every book in that box.
Wow. What's that, 300 and something in a long box?
Yeah.
Holy bananas.
The trunk of my car.
See,
So-
but that's awesome. And like you said, it's the memories and whatnot. That dude remembers that. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
guaranteed. And so, man, and that's one thing I said too, that I'll never charge for signatures. Not that I'm nowhere near, for my 5 people, I'll never charge for signatures. But I also don't charge for sketches for little kids. You know what I mean? If I know it's a little kid coming up, like, I was like, I don't care, man. Like, I'm gonna do like a quick little sketch for you. Here you go. You know what I mean? But if I know it's like, you're like, hey, can you do blah 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 blah? Like, dude, your dad just asked you to come over and ask that, didn't he?
Another thing that gets me 37 years later, that still gets me every single time is somebody who will come to the show specifically because they saw my name, that I was going to be there, and they went and they clawed through their collections and brought a bunch of books from their collection to have me sign because they saw that I was going to be. For me,
That's awesome.
oh my God, that just blows my mind every time.
Yeah, I had one guy at Miami SuperCon, one kid, and I had talked to him 2 years before at Daytona Beach Comic Con, because Roland's like, hey, come talk to Jose and Peter, because they went to the Cuber school, asked them all kinds of questions. And he did. He sat there asking all kinds of questions. And the first thing I said to him was like, listen, if you want to go to the Cuber school because you want to graduate and go work for Marvel and whatnot, you might as well not go. Like, if you want to go there because as soon as you clock in, you want to be like, yes, I'm a comic book creator, and that's it, you might as well not go. Don't waste the money. Like, but if you're passionate about it and you want to learn the actual process on how to do comics, how, you know what I mean? Because you can learn that on your own, but like to learn and be able to pick the brain of professionals, you know what I mean, that are still in the business, and have them critique your work and help you to better yourself to get past a plateau or whatever, then I feel that that's the place to go. So 2 years later, which is this past SuperCon, his name is Nick, and he came up to me like, hey, I saw your name was on the thing for SuperCon. I knew I had to come because I just want to tell you, your words to me were the reason I made it through my second year of Cuber school. I was like,
wow.
I told you, like, don't go if you weren't blah, blah, blah. Like, I did not say anything nice. He goes, I know. Like, but you didn't sugarcoat, like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. You said, go there with the understanding of you're going to empty your brain because they're going to tell you everything is wrong, and then help fix the things that you're doing wrong so that you can, better grow as an artist. Like, you told me that, and I was struggling my second year. And when I was getting to the point of like, you know what, why am I even here? Your words kept popping in my head.
You changed the
like,
voice.
Right?
You were that person's Mick, like Rocky
Bro.
and Mick. Yeah, you were Mick in the corner there.
And
Get
it's-
out.
like, I was like, holy cow. And because he even came up to me, he's like, hey, my name's Nick. I'm not sure if you remember me. Like, I'm a student at the Cuber school. Like, I know. It's like, I've been following you. It's like, you've been following me? I was like, yeah, dude, I started following you on Instagram. So every time you post up or the Cuber school posts videos and whatnot, I'll slow it down and see if I can find you in there to see how you're doing.
Blows his mind, right?
It did. He's like, I can't believe that you do that. I was like, I talked to you, like, you know what I mean? I gave you advice. I wanted to see how you were progressing. So yeah, he's like, that is awesome. And then he told me all about that. And I'm like, holy cow. Like, I sure hope that he's doing all right. But yeah, like, I inspired him. Like, I've never had that happen before. Like, that was just that it didn't matter how much money I made at SuperCon. That was worth it to me. That made the entire weekend for me.
Yeah, it's things like that that make it worthwhile. There's
Right.
some shows that I'll come. I never pay for a table, so I don't have to worry about that. But sometimes there's hotel and there's
Yeah.
travel and stuff like that. And there are some shows I barely cover my costs, and Dick will grumble. But then there are some other shows that I'll do quite well, and they're worth it. But they're all worth it in one way or another.
Yeah.
So it's just the
Yeah, they
experience get out there.
And
And another little piece of advice is that I have seen a lot of creators, beautiful setup, all the beautiful art behind them and on the table, and there they are. They're just working away. The whole time, not looking up. If you're not making eye contact with the people
Right.
around you, they have no interest in you. So,
engage. That's part of the
you have
engagement,
to engage your audience. So I will say to people walking by, "Hi, good morning. Oh, I like that T-shirt."
Right.
I will make comments to people just a lot of times just so they will turn and look, because a lot of times they're like, and they're not even looking your way. But if I make a comment of some sort, like, "Good morning," they'll at least look over, and sometimes they'll, oh,
Yeah.
and they'll
See,
come
I
over and
almost always have to be working on something. Like even if it's a sketch cover, a little sketch card doesn't matter because idle hands, my hands get fidgety. You know what I mean? But I also learned that I have to wear my hat backwards because I always wear my hat. You know what I mean? Like the fact that I don't even have it on now is amazing to me. But I always wear my hat backwards because then I can see people come up, and I try my best to like incline my art so I can sit up and notice people coming by. And I notice people with shirts on that I love. I notice people that a lot of the big one for me was I noticed people wearing MCR shirts, like My Chemical Romance shirts. And I was like, oh, dude, I saw them in concert. You know what I mean? And
they'll
like
stop and talk.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Like always be engaging, always be, you know what I mean? Be nice, be kind. Don't be me at my first few shows.
Yeah, I have not been able to be that person, and I've seen plenty of them that was like, "Hey, come over here. I want you to look at my comic book. This is what it's about." I'm like, I can't do that. But I will always say, yeah, I will say, "Hey, hi. Oh, I like your T-shirt. Oh my God, that's a
Right.
beautiful costume." I can do that. And if they say thank you and walk on, then that's fine too. But if they turn and look for a second and then come over and look through my stuff, I've got their attention. It's
Right.
worst show I've ever done is I got put on the opposite side of the aisle of this massive poster, one of those giant poster companies, which they've got like 500 posters for
Yes.
sale,
Mm-hmm.
and they're super high.
It's
They
like
go all the way.
2 or 3 tables high, like 9 feet high banner and whatnot.
Nobody
Yep.
would even look at my side of the aisle, even with me saying hi. They were just super focused on this.
It's overwhelming. I've walked through plenty of conventions, and after like the 10th one, it just becomes a blur. And as a merchant, I'm trying to figure out, how do I get to break that spell? Because after a while, it just becomes awesome, or not in my wheelhouse, completely just disappears to me. And I am looking for stuff. I'm looking for science fiction. I'm looking for fantasy. I want those things to jump out of me so I can, get in there and boom. But I don't know what other people are looking for.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've recently decided to not sit down at conventions. Stand up.
That helps too. But
Stand
I
up.
got to sit up. I got to
Yeah.
do an 8-hour
Yeah.
day. I got to sit. I got to stand. I got to sit. Stand,
I alternate.
sit.
Yeah, I alternate.
Yeah.
I'll sit down
I
for a
can't be on
good
my
portion
feet
of
for
it,
8 hours.
stand up.
I'm an old
Yeah.
person.
So
can't
I
do
fidget around
that.
quite a bit. I turn around, I walk away, come back, walk 2 feet away, maybe talk to a merchant on the other side, admire their stuff, because I'm a fan too, and I see cool stuff. I want to also be a voice of, pushing other people to, wishing them well, and I hope your show is great and you deserve it, at least in my humble opinion. But yeah.
It's always good if you're at a smaller show. It's always good to have kind of an idea of who else is there.
Yeah.
because if they ask me a question that I can't answer, like how do you get an agent for publishing? I'll say, well, you know what? You want to go down and talk to Joe Schmo. He's right down here on the corner. He's a published author. He would be able to answer.
There
that
you
question.
go. Yeah.
Right. Or if it, I've had to turn down commissions when people are like, hey, would you be able to draw this? Like, I'll tell you, it's not in my wheelhouse. Like, that's not really, like, I hate to do it. I hate to tell you that I can't draw that. Like, but I'll be honest with you. But my man Josh over there, like, go ask him. You know what I mean? Because I guarantee you, he can do it. Like, that is definitely in his skill set.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
I do a lot of quad cons, and I have one coming up this weekend, by the way. So
What is
I'm
that?
trying. It's what was it, Davenport?
Davenport. It's out of Davenport, the Quad Cities.
Yeah.
And he does all around the Midwest. I do a lot of quad cons, and I have one at Madison Easttown Mall this weekend, folks. So come and see me. But I do a lot of them, and so you get to know this whole group of people that do a lot of the shows, and it becomes this little group of friends. So you really kind of get a kind of a family relationship. Oh, yeah. I can't do that. You know what? Over there, he has got what you want.
And not just Silverline, you know what I mean, family, like other creators that are there. Yeah. Like you go to setup and everyone's like, oh man, how you doing? Like how, blah blah blah. Just chatting about this and that. It's like it is a camaraderie. Like, and I know people are like, oh, sports people and what? No, dude, like art creators and whatnot. Man, it nerds. Nerds. It is a tight knit, like yeah, we all try and support each other. Like I've never had a situation where someone, undermined me or maybe they didn't like my personality, but definitely there was never like bad talking. You know what I mean? It was always like, oh yeah, like go check out Jose stuff. Like I'm like, oh man, go check out Marvin stuff. You know what I mean? Like always like sharing each other.
Support each other, the other creatives. We're a small community. we need to do for each other.
Yes, we are.
Yep.
Javier, you have a unique perspective on your art, and you said at one other show that you did not think that you would fit in well with Marvel and DC. Do you still think that?
I don't. I wish. I can recognize that I'm not there yet. How can I say this? I would support when I see my own work, I would support it as an indie creator, but I wouldn't see my own work at Marvel and DC, not just yet. I'm pretty realistic about that. I feel I'm close to it. I'm almost there. I just feel that there's a few more skills that I need to add to make it where I can confidently go up and say I think I'm ready, and I think I'm fairly sure you're going to agree, because I'm not an argumentative person. So, I'm not going to go up and say, I think I'm ready and be like, nah, bro, you're not. I'm realistic. I get that.
Hello, San Francisco. I love that town. Love that town. I guess it was that you were saying that you like to riff on your own creativity, and you don't like being told, well, no, gotta have it, just do it this way, do it that way. Like when I used to work, I worked on Barbie. 3 eyelashes. She only has 3 eyelashes. You put 4.
Oh, you know what? I don't think that was me. That might have been somebody else that made that comment, because I wish I had I knew somebody at Marvel DC to give me work.
Well,
yeah, no. I'm sorry. I guess I'm putting my booty out there saying I'll work for anybody for money, but I like eating and I like paying my bills. So
don't apologize. At one time, I was working on Barbie and in a XXX porn book at the same time. Why?
As long as you didn't cross the pages.
No, because I wasn't paid. I had kids to raise. I had a hubby too, but and he worked, but we were a 2-income household. and I had to. We had to keep a roof over our head and kids fed and insurance. Oh my God, insurance!
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't be super picky. If somebody comes and say, I've got an idea for a story and it involves a banana, okay, I'll do it.
Listen,
You know,
I inked in an adult comic book, and it was a big book, and I got about halfway through it, and I told the writers, like, I can't do this anymore, right? But I just got tired of looking. Got tired of looking at it when I was doing it. You know what I mean? And he understood, but I did it because I need. When I started it, I did it because I needed the money. You know what I mean? You do what you got to do. They're not necessarily
fortunately,
books I can show anybody, but it's, it's work that I, at the time, I didn't have any comic gigs going on. You know what I mean? And so, like, someone offered, and you say yes, I can do that. You know what I mean? Like, we're taught in school, like, you really kind of don't want to turn down any project you were given, like, right out the gate. You know what I mean? Now
for me, it's Phil Foley. Also, his style is very cartoony and fun.
right.
Yeah, and I had a piece like that I had to do. I just used the pseudonym. That's all.
So did I.
Yeah.
So did I. But what I do now is I don't mind drawing risque. Risque doesn't bother me, right? I just won't do anything I can't show my kids. My kids are old enough now that they can search me on the internet.
Yes.
I don't want certain things popping up that I've worked on. So, but that's me, right? That's the choice I made and whatnot. That's the limitation I chose for myself, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? But
I get that. I made a similar decision about 10 years ago. If I can't show this work to my family, I'm just not going to do it. There's no point. Because I'm proud of what I do. I do it for them. And if I can't show them, there's something anti-ethical about that. Who am I lying to here? Am I lying to my client? Am I lying to myself? Am I lying to my family? Either way, I'm lying to somebody. And that doesn't align well with me. So from that point, I'm saying, you know what? If I got to go hungry, I'll go hungry. But
listen, ramen noodles are like 97 cents.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Fortunately, I only did one book.
Right.
And my daughter used to love when I worked on Barbie because she would pose for me,
That's awesome.
That's
because it's Skipper.
adorable.
Skipper, I had Skipper there too, and she'd say, "Oh, there's this little girl in the crowd. Can you do her with my face?" Sure,
right.
And I'm in this comic book. Yeah.
I did that once. I put my grandfather in a comic book because he's like, oh, this other character interacts with the bad guy. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then when I get to like the final page, the bad guy shoots him with a laser blast through his chest.
Oh,
and I'm like,
poor guy.
I have to draw this? What? Here I thought I was honoring my grandfather, and now I gotta draw him. Just okay.
So then you just don't tell family. You wait to let them read it, and then you just sit there. And as soon as they're done reading, they're gonna be like,
"It's amazing."
There, Argo says, "I think that's when the pen names come in if you're not morally opposed." Yeah. Well, guys, we managed even without our host tonight. I have no idea what happened with that, and so sorry, people, if you're tuning in for Paper or Plastic, which was going to be about toys that are spun off from comics, which I know very little about. So we couldn't do that because John wasn't here for whatever reason, and I'm not going to point any fingers or blame anybody. Stuff happens, life happens.
My net.
But we managed to struggle through just fine. In fact, we're over time. So we could really talk for an hour about all this stuff.
Yes, there's plenty to be learned and plenty to be shared on that topic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. And so I thank everybody who tuned in, and I ended up being the de facto hostess tonight. Didn't have anything planned.
You're absolutely super qualified for that.
Everything was just totally off the cuff. So I thank everybody for showing up. And you guys don't know this, but if you come on Wednesday Wham more often, you'll learn it. As we like to say at the end of every Wednesday Wham, make mine
Silverline.
Oh, you're set up.
Hey, this is Paul Pelletier. Make mine Silverline. Is that okay, Roland?